globalization, which has delivered growth and stability for many countries, including Singapore, has come under pressure. Countries, particularly in the West, are questioning the benefits of openness and free trade and of the free movement of people. The US has been, thus far, the champion and sponsor of the post-war international system. They promoted free trade. They opened their own doors to immigrants. They were generous to others, sharing technology and know-how. They spent blood and treasure to maintain global peace. They believed that all this was in their own enlightened self-interest. But now, many Americans no longer believe this, including the Trump administration. They feel that other countries are benefiting more from the global system and benefiting at the expense of the US. They want to make sure that the US will always benefit directly, item by item, country by country, and not just generally from upholding a system which is good for everybody and therefore indirectly good for the US. So the US has made trade a top issue, especially trade with China. The trade tensions between US and China hurt business, but more broadly, their unilateral and tit-for-tat actions undermine the multilateral trading system. In other words, it's not just the two participants who are affected or the amount of, whether it's steel or aluminum or soya beans or cars, which is not exported and which can't be traded, but the whole multilateral system, the system of rules which ensures that countries big and small play on a level playing field, have their place in the sun, and can contribute to and benefit from this international network of cooperation, and is a system which we have depended upon in Singapore. Therefore, the trade tensions threaten global prosperity, especially for smaller countries like Singapore. The trade disputes can also affect the overall relations between the powers. The US and China are jockeying for position and advantage. The US is still stronger, especially militarily, but China is growing in power, influence, and confidence. Increasingly, the US has to accommodate China. And if there's mutual distrust and rivalry between the two, it is but a small step from a trade disagreement, to a wider and more serious quarrel. The US and China are far from going to war with each other, but it is not clear which way their relations will tilt. If they tilt towards more conflict, it will be bad not only for the two powers, but for the rest of the world as well. That's obvious. But if relations tilt to the other extreme, and the two powers agree to divide up the world between them and set rules that only benefit them, that would be just as detrimental, especially for small countries which have no say. As a small and open country, Singapore will always be vulnerable to what happens around us. As Ms. Lee Hsien Loong used to say, when elephants fight, the grass suffers, but when they make love, the grass suffers also. Therefore, we must be aware of what's happening around us and prepare ourselves for changes and surprises.